Hey, hello.
Yeah.
This that was a good one. Nice and spooky. Got to get all. Do you like my mood lighting? I put the other lights off, so it looks like I'm in a mystical forest.
I like it. I like it. I'm
Damn
scared.
right. It's too spooky for me. 3 spooky, 6 me as well. How are you, Hunter?
Lekker, man. Lekker. Checking out some diehards over here. Simon, Fran, Fian, and Niku. What's up, dudes?
What's up?
I'm
What's
good.
up? Yeah, listen. So we decided tonight is going to be a slightly different one. Like we always chat about, like the weird and wonderful things in the world, and tonight's no different. We're going to be delving into the world of paranormal activities and Halloween and things of that nature. As far as I know, you went out, you did your first ever sourcing for an interview, and you got an absolute legend of a guest tonight. A guy from Phoenix Paranormal. His name's Vaynant. Do tell us more, Hunter. Tell us who our guest is.
I don't really know a lot more. I'm pretty keen to find out from him. But yeah, I mean, I heard about Phoenix Paranormal. I think it might have been a few years ago. I think they've only been going for 2 years or maybe, but they'll be able to clear that up. But if like Biz News or News 24, they feature a lot of their articles, like top 10 most haunted places in South Africa or whatever. And
Okay, cool.
I always saw Phoenix Paranormal at the bottom.
Are you just on that topic? Like, now, are you a? I'm going to hit straight at the bat here. Are you a big believer in the paranormal? Like, do you believe in, as Deadmau5 has named his album, ghosts and shit or ghosts and stuff?
Dude, it's a tough one. I mean, I like to suspend my disbelief on these kind of things because I think the people that the experiencers are believers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure how this fits into my worldview, and I'm also quite keen to ask Vaynant how he actually thinks this shit works. But so I think I'm on the fence. I don't know. I've never seen a ghost. And like I said, I'm not exactly sure how that would work. What do you reckon?
I've always been like also a sort of believing non-believer in the sense that I've always like thought there has, because like I've had creepy things happen to me, but like and then some of them obviously have been unexplainable, so to speak, inexplicable, and there has to be something. And the more I chat to the more people, like 1 in 2 people have had like an experience. I don't know. If you are in the comments now, just like let us know if you are a believer or like a non-believer. It would be cool to know where we stand, because I mean, Vaynant and them these are guys that go out into places that have been noted as haunted. These places, like, these are haunted, and they go out there and they've got like, this isn't a bunch of guys going with like their sweet Nikon camera and going and taking a photo of a blade of grass moving because of wind. They've got gizmos and gadgets that pick up like in weird things, and like they've got like in all of it. But I think, without any further ado, Hunter, would you agree to say that it's time to invite the man, the myth, the legend himself into studio, so we can finally ask the questions that need to be asked?
Yeah, let's fucking do it.
He's so excited. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest for this evening, Mr. Vaynant. Give it up to him. Oh, I'm going to probably take that branding off his face. There you go. Vaynant.
Thanks, Duncan. How's it, Hunter?
How's it, bro?
Cool. How you guys doing?
Very good. It's almost Halloween, and surely this is the time of the year for people that are in your field to just lap it up. Like it's people love the unknown. People love to be spooked a little bit. This is your time of year, man.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Very excited. Very excited.
So I want to just start off from the beginning. I know Hunter sent me a list of questions this big, but I just want to
He wanted to send it to me, but I said no, it's fine.
I just want to send it out.
Hunter's a consummate professional. He's a consummate professional. So basically what I want to start with is, how the hell does someone get to being a paranormal investigator? Because I feel like it's one of those things where, kids grow up and they want to be firemen, they want to be astronauts. No kid goes, I'm going to hunt ghosts. I'm going to find them. I'm going to document them. How the hell does that happen?
Well, I think the story is probably different from all the members in the group side, it's a different story. I think curiosity, but like you say, I wanted to be an actor. I didn't want to be a paranormal investigator. I mean, how do you fall into that? It's like a very old friend of mine said. He was smoking some recreational herbs, and he said to me, and this is probably the best way to explain it to someone, is why do you do it? And he took a drag, and he's like, want almal like 'n spookstorie. So there's the answer. I think it's basically curiosity, and I'm coming basically from the same point of view as you guys are. Skeptic, but you're sort of kind of a believer because weird shit has happened to you. And that's basically what it comes down to, just actually to go and find out, see what your capacity is for dealing with these kinds of paranormal stuff.
Okay, so on that topic, Huntz, I think we need to open up the channel here and ask you directly. Have you ever had something happen to you that was inexplicable?
Before I started investigating?
All of us. I want this answer. I'm saying, no, okay, I want the before, because we're going to get into a lot of stories that you have. That's going to come up in a bit, and we're going to watch some video stuff that you guys have produced yourselves. And like before, so Hunter and Vaynant, have you guys had experiences pre you working in the industry, Hunter? Have you been touched? Did you and Kevin Spacey make pottery together? Or was it Kevin Spacey or Kevin Bacon?
Swayze. Wasn't it Swayze?
No, it was Patrick Swayze. Sorry, I went through every other actor.
Kevin Spacey would be keen. I mean, that would be a
Kevin Spacey, you're not young enough. If you were a bit younger, Kevin Spacey would be absolutely down to make pottery with your little hands. Because you're a bassist. I mean, all bassists have small fingers. And Kevin Spacey all over that. But no. Okay, have you had let's start again. Sorry, this is okay. Have you ever had an experience?
Well, on the UFO one, I told you about that orb that I.
But that's
saw.
extraterrestrial. That's extraterrestrial. I'm talking those
Well,
things.
that's weird about the orbs, right? I mean, the paranormal is quite a big umbrella. So. But except for that, I mean, in terms of seeing apparitions or people, I don't really think so. There might have been a time where I was listening to a lot of Slayer and death metal when I was 13, and I maybe convinced myself that there was a demon at the end of my bed or something, but I'm not really sure if that actually happened, That's it.
And before you've literally gone to South Africa's most ridiculously creepy places, have you had something before this? Was there a thing? Because I mean, look, if something didn't happen, my argument, I'd say you wouldn't get into this if you had nothing ever happen to you, or nothing ever happened to you. You need to prove to yourself that this is fake. So it's a weird catch-22 in your position.
Yeah. I have to say that when I became aware of the paranormal, my grandmother was a big enthusiast, and we were encouraged as kids by our parents not to dabble in those kinds of things. So I think it sort of just left an impression on me, and questions, as you guys say. So,
but dude,
something did happen to me pre being investigator, actually knowing what I'm doing. It was strange. I was sitting with a friend of mine at home, and she was a bit weird. She was a little bit sensitive towards paranormal energy. So she said there was something going on in the house. So we started looking for it, and then there was a filing cabinet or something, and behind it there was a bunch of paintings. And as I lifted one of the paintings up, I had this numb sensation running up my arm, up into my shoulder, to a certain extent that I had to actually drop it. And yeah, that was quite weird. I had to dispose of that painting.
Yeah. So I've always been a bit of a skeptic, but lately, and this is a weird thing. So I'm less of a skeptic after this year, because we've had a few things happen since I've relocated to this house, right? So now this is not a bullshit story either. So my mom, I would just have to paraphrase the story with my mother. My mother bought a piano, so I want to stop that side of the story there. So then, she bought the piano, brought it to the house, and then some real fucking spooky shit started happening. So we were driving up this one road really close to my house, but it's dark, no lighting or whatever. And we're driving at I'd say 60, 70 k's an hour up the road. And you're obviously going at a decent pace. And I heard like a proper consecutive knocking, like a proper 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now the thing is, if you're on a road and there's bumps, you would hear that it sounds like on the car, but it wasn't. It literally sounded like it was on the roof above us while we're going 60 k's an hour on a road. So I was like, is someone on the roof? And shat myself. Then all of a sudden, like, my girlfriend's sitting around and like walking about here, and she hears people clip-clopping in like old man's shoes around,
like those that what do you, the Dutch, those wooden shoes.
Not clogs, but you remember those like men's
right.
shoes with the wooden bottom.
Yes, yeah, okay.
It was a Dutch ghost who was wearing clogs. No, it was just, but you could hear walking about.
I was like, geez.
But she's got this friend, right? That's like big into reading things, like cards and all that. And he's like super into the paranormal. And he's like said, "Did you bring something into your house, like recently?" Turns out my mom got this piano from like a super dilapidated place, and this piano, I'm telling you, has energy. It's got something. It's got that juju. Because since that thing, nothing has ever, I've never been like in a house with or taken things from, I've never lived in an older house, that kind of stuff. So that's getting me onto the point of being convinced. Okay, and I have to ask you straight, Vayner, to answer my question, do spirits go into actual physical things as opposed to just being apparitions and being a ghost floating about?
I think the best
get possessed as such.
I think the best way to explain it is look, things like a piano is made of wood, right? Which is still a living thing, if you want to see it that way, because it expands and it retracts with the heat and the cold. But energy can get stuck in those inanimate objects. Let's say, for instance, stairs or a chair or an army helmet, which I bought at my own detriment. That was quite crazy.
I want to hear
but
that.
They do.
I actually wanted to hear that story later, but maybe you can tell us about that helmet.
You want to hear it now?
Yeah, well,
please.
So they call it like this the stone tape theory. Let's say a traumatic event occurs and there's a piece of furniture, like let's say the piano, for instance. Some of that energy gets absorbed into the piano or the wall or the chair or the bed. And at certain times, temperatures, everything needs to be in sync and completely right. Then it replays that event. That's the theory.
Well, yeah, Duncan, the stone tape. So, like, we can record sounds to magnetic tape, right?
Yeah.
So the stone tape theory is like some stones also have magnetic qualities, and that maybe that acts the same way. Like he said, if something extraordinary happens, like for instance a murder or something, then it's almost like the objects record the incident.
That's it, yeah.
Oh shit. Okay, so like, and that's almost why, like, for the most part, I know like movies and stuff have like when a room has like a murder in it, that you could always sort of sense like in this room there's something not right. Is that where we're going with this? Like the energies, it's trying to almost like replay the thing that happened there to you. I don't know, maybe if I'm pushing this, but again, like I don't know anything. So
yeah.
Okay, now I hear what you're saying. Not necessarily.
Okay.
I don't know if it's ever happened to you. You walk into the kitchen and you hear like the kettle, but nobody switched the kettle on. Has that ever happened to you? Or like a light switch?
Yeah, I've heard.
You hear the sound, but
microwave.
Yes.
Like a dong of a microwave. It's like a wood.
That's it. Okay, so those sound never dies, right? So where does it go? So it gets trapped in a corner somewhere, and then weather, temperature, and then it makes that sound. So it's just basically the tool that absorbs that energy. So it's not necessarily, if somebody or someone is attached to that piano, you'll start experiencing a little bit more you'll hear the piano, let's say for instance, or you can basically playing without anybody being there.
That like that's the kind of stuff that like I like the fact that you're not just saying that that's like some spook doing it, but there's an actual
sitting there playing the same fucking
song. I could never get this one right, old Larry, and he keeps sitting here banging out the old Mozart's Fifth. But it's I find that incredibly interesting that there's like a different. I've never thought about that, like where the sound go. When you asked me that, I was like, what the fuck? How do I answer that question? Thank God you didn't actually want me to answer it because I don't know. And
goes away to space.
And now on this whole topic of obviously everything, I would like you to carry on with your helmet story. What is the actual helmet thing?
Fuck. Okay, so I've got a little bit of a thing for antiques, and I'm a little bit of a collector, actually quite obsessively collector. But that aside, so I picked up this old Stahlduck. I don't know if your dads were in the army.
Yeah.
And they had those fucking heavy ass helmets. So I found one of these in an antique store, and I'm like, okay, great. I've always wanted one of these. I'm going to buy it. Picked it up for a bargain. And it was on a Sunday. And then on a Monday, our children started getting ill, but not like cold or anything. Just really weird. And actually just before this whole corona thing started. And we made it off as something peculiar, so we kept an eye on it. A few days later, like on my side of the bed was pushed onto the side wall. Like you had to be a very big physical man to make that bed move all that way. So from there on in, we started taking note. And I think it's probably because we are paranormal investigators. You sort of develop a sense for certain things. Even the kids were standing in the hallway and just looking into the doorway. We did ask a medium friend of ours to just sort of do like a little bit of just give us some information, and she said it's nothing to worry about. But I didn't trust that, so I took the helmet and I put it in the garage, which is currently my studio at this point, and just constantly stuff just dropping off shelves and boxes and stuff being literally chucked while I leave the garage. So needless to say, I had to dispose of this helmet, unfortunately.
And then did everything stop?
Yeah.
Well, who's got
we kind of picked up.
There's a garbage dump somewhere.
No, I don't know where it is. Probably some.
Yeah, there's some poor guy right now that can't keep a fucking painting up in his house because he found a suit helmet. He's like, what? Well, this painting just doesn't want to stay up. Fuck, come on. But no, that's I find that to be like, and this is the thing. I love hearing these stories because I think it's a natural human sort of want is to be freaked out. Like I think there's a sort of a beautiful adrenaline that sort of happens that like because we can't find an answer, we need people to like we need affirmation of answers of like the afterlife. And there's a lot of stories that my mom has told, and and like mediums. Mediums I'm not a very big fan of. In terms of the sense, like I like the work that you guys do, where you go into a place and you've got fucking recordings and you've got things and going on. Because I sometimes find, and can I tell you why? Let me just defend myself for the medium statement. It's because of that John Edward fucker. Because I've heard like it's because like for the most part a medium can do cold calling, which is easy enough to do because your life is so long and there's so many possibilities of things that have potentially happened that it's easy for you to just go and say something to the extent of like somebody's died that's important to you. Of course someone's died that's important to you. You're a human being. It's going to happen. And then like they sort of like build you into their answers. That's why I don't like mediums. Whereas you guys are going to places and physically, the feeling is there. I mean, you get gripped physically, like your heart beats faster. There's stuff happening around you. Not some guy going, your Tanny's following you around right now and she says you're going to be sharp. Which is like, I don't dig that. That's being straight up from me. Are you a big medium buyer, Hunter? Do you dabble in mediums? I've never really been to one, so I guess my opinion is
Yeah,
short-sighted.
exactly. Yeah, I'm not sure. I do believe that there are sensitives. I think that was actually also a question for later, but
There's no such thing as later. It's now. We live in the now,
no, we
Hunter.
talk about it now. Well, maybe after I'm dead, we can chat about it. And like mediums, shit. There's a guy called Edgar Casey who I find very intriguing. And I don't want to go into that history or whatever. So I do believe it's possible, but I think just like a lot of other things, maybe 90% of them are quacks, and there's a few of the people that are for real. I'm not sure. Sorry, no,
Yeah. Look,
What's that?
it's what.
Oh. Carry on, please. Sorry, I just didn't hear Hunter there. But it's fine.
Is it okay? Sorry, Hunter.
What
I
did you say?
interrupted you.
No. His actual line broke up in my ear.
Is it okay? It's as you mentioned, it's very different from what we do and what mediums do. We don't claim to go into people's houses and do cleansings and chase demons out and all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah.
We're just basically going on to the factual evidence. That's what we're looking for. That's just basically the proof. We do, because of the network that we've built up over the years on our Facebook group, we get a lot of requests of people having hauntings in their houses and need some proper assistance. And that's a question. What do you do when things get out of control with paranormal activity? You'd think, looking at movies and stuff, you can go to like a spiritual person and they will be able to assist you. But unfortunately, in this country, we don't have a lot of them who will actually be able to assist. So that's when we refer the cases to mediums, and they then deal with those situations. So we sort of just hand it over to them because, like I say, we don't monetize this at all. It's just a way for us to do whatever we want and what we like investigating, and then we hand it over, and then the mediums, they actually help the people, and they sort out the paranormal activity.
So on that though, I just want to know, like, okay, so you guys are investigators. Now, what exactly? Now, I just would like to ask. I mean, we're already 27 minutes in, and we haven't even asked the damn question. What exactly is it that you do when you go to a place? Like, let's say, because I want to obviously show a few videos. You have this one awesome one, the top 5 most haunted locations that are in South Africa, which we're gonna display some of your video now, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, of course.
And I want to ask what the hell it is that you do. So on a day today, you guys got a phone call. This guy has, he lives on a farm. He just bought this farm, bottom of the farm. He says this place is rattled with things. What is a normal day for Vaynant and the team? Like, what do you guys do? I mean, I've watched Ghostbusters. I doubt you get in a 1952 Buick ambulance, put on some backpacks. Yeah, unfortunately not. And then jump out and do things. But like, what is it?
Yeah.
What equipment do you use? What is it that you do?
All right. So when a case like that comes up, we try to get as much as we can on the location from the owner, like actual claims. You have to understand as well, we all have jobs. This is like a sideline thing. So we have to sort of arrange it at a certain time that works for the owner of the house and for all the members of our team. And hopefully it's not too far, then we can drive out there. So we try to gather as much evidence as we can from eyewitness accounts, experiences, stuff like that. Then we try to find history. History is a very important component in our investigation, because that's where you get the clues of what we might be up against. So then, and sometimes these kinds of things takes months to correspond, and then we finally get out there. We try to do night investigations, just because it's quiet. Not that paranormal activity is at all bound to nighttime. It happens just as much in the day. So it's just for equipment purposes that we try and line it up in such a way that we have silence and the dead of night to do the investigation in. Yeah, then we sort of just go after the claims, see if we can prove any of it. We use EMF detectors, which is basically a electromagnetic field impulse detector. So basically, ghosts said to give off like electromagnetic waves, and these devices tend to pick up when these certain energies are about. After a while, we've been doing this for now. I've been personally doing it for 4 years now. I think Arnu, Yanni, and Charmaine have probably been almost a decade now. They've been at it. The original members of our group. So after a while, you start developing a sense for these things. Like it's crazy. We'll walk into a place and you just sort of feel something's wrong. Then you do a little bit of inquiring here and then you find out something is actually haunting this place. So it's basically just going after that evidence and just finding it. We also use a spirit box. It's a little device that skips through radio frequencies at a rapid pace, and the entities can basically use these frequencies to speak to us, to actually make sounds and answer questions, stuff like that. And we use thermal. We just use normal cameras as well. We've caught some pretty good evidence with that. Some CCTV cameras, which gives you the luxury of lots and lots of static footage that you have to rummage through afterwards.
I was honestly thinking that because, I mean, if you're recording something, something happens and it's within the case of like 3 seconds and you've got like 27 hours of footage of like 10 different cameras that you need to go through. It must be so time consuming.
Yes. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's very time consuming. We haven't used that method for a while now, just because it just cuts back on the production time, so we can get the stuff out quicker. On a normal event, going through all the footage, I mean, it takes me about a month just to go through everything and see where the evidence is, and then we cut it up and put it in video form. So it takes quite long. Static footage, because I mean, you've taken 27 hours worth of footage. Now you have to go and sit and watch 27 hours worth of CCTV. You can watch and fast forward. That does help, but you might miss something. So yeah.
The one thing that I wanted to ask you, with these investigations that you guys go on, because like I said, we're going to get into some of the videos and stuff now to show the people what you guys actually get up to. But just a quick question: have you dealt with different types of ghosts? Because I know that, like, if you deal with we just go, oh, it's a ghost. But apparently, after doing some research, there are many different types. Like, you get spirits, wraiths, phantoms, poltergeist, banshees, jinns, mares, revenants, shades, demons, Onis, all these kinds of things. And they all obviously are different, because, like, a spirit wouldn't interact with you. It just is there. I just was reading up on stuff. Whereas a revenant wants to get you the fuck out of the place that you're at and will do things like hurt you or chuck things around the room. Have you dealt with different types of ones? Like, have there been a lot of different types of ghosts?
Yeah, no, there's definitely been different types. You mentioned jinns and stuff like that. I think that borders a little bit more on the supernatural, which is also very interesting. Something that we have done posts on our Facebook group. And it kind of makes you wonder if it's, are there werewolves out there? There's some weird people out there. Anyway.
If you see me without a shirt on, pal, and it's a full moon, Oaks will say 100%, shoot that fucker, he's a werewolf.
But what's strange about that is the fact that Charmaine did an article. Apparently they were summoning demons in the mine dumps there, and where was it? Rockbun, Benoni area.
It's always Rockbun or Benoni. Why?
I know, of course.
It's always they've done a lot of stuff here. Like, without sounding funny, there was like a satanic cult in Benoni that were doing like summonings and like sacrifices in storm drains. They did storm drains. They've done a lot of stuff. Like, Benoni's a weird place. So there's some weird people here.
Yeah, no, definitely. So the people actually reported that they saw werewolves, and then through our page, someone comments in like, "Are you speaking ill of werewolves?" There's some real strange people out there. Getting back to the different kinds of spirits. I think it's you never know what you're up against.
I'm just trying to think that there's one guy out there in Boxburg that is an actual werewolf advocate. So how dare you? They have rights. How dare you speak ill? How dare you speak ill of the werewolf? They have rights. Dick.
Exactly.
Don't find the SPCA on him. He's just a man dog.
but he's kind of coming from the perspective of, what do you guys know about werewolves? You know, it's kind of like a hidden society or something. Yeah, odd. Right, so different kinds of spirits. Okay, you mentioned poltergeists, so that's basically just stuff just moving around on its own. Cupboard doors getting flung open and stopping flung out. That should be your poltergeist. I would say, you know, if there's different kinds. You have aggressive spirits. You have your soothing spirits. You have just people just trapped between here and there, you know, and they don't know that they're dead. They don't know how to get out. And that's also something that mediums assist with. Those people who are trapped between the living and the dead, they sort of help them pass on. But yeah, there's definitely, as there are different humans on the planet, I think there's, you know, different spirits as well.
Yeah. So what I think it's time to do now, I reckon I'd love to show this top 5 thing, because with the footage that you guys have, I want to obviously chat with you and Hunter about some of the stuff that goes on in them. And this top 5 most haunted locations is a very cool one to start on, I feel, because I think a lot of people know these locations. Maybe some people have actually been there themselves. So let's get to this video, because this is, like, I watched this yesterday and I was like, this is really, really cool. Anyway, this is the top 5 from number 5.
So here we go. Number 5, the old jail, Heidelberg. Completed in 1888, the old jail served both as a prison and a hospital for the community of Heidelberg. The old jail has been very kind to us in the past, delivering some of the most riveting evidence we have ever captured on camera. From a full-body apparition to the heavy front door of the jail flung open and communication with a female prisoner on the SP7, the old jail never disappoints. The history around the place is rich and well worth a visit, where the kind-hearted members of Moth will take you on a tour. The Second Boer War is most likely responsible for the prison's notoriety, with the unlawful execution of Solomon van As. He refused to be blindfolded in front of the firing squad, and the bullet holes in the coarse sandstone is all that echoes this heartbreaking story in the name of war. The jail now serves as a museum and events venue, and is probably the only place where ghosts are spoken about openly, and has become an attraction in itself. The prison is by no means scary, but very active, most definitely.
So let's Hunter, you the one with all the questions, yeah. Take it away. Like you.
Yeah, well, it's funny to me that it now is an events venue. Is that like the you know, is that such a good idea if it's haunted? But then he said it's not that dangerous, so I guess it's all right. But well, it's interesting to me, that door that was flung open. What would you say if I told you someone obviously could have just stood behind it and kicked it open or whatever? You know?
Yeah, that's a perception, but that door was locked the entire evening, and
Right.
that door opens onto the street. So they always kept it locked. So that's just what's weird about that. You
Yeah,
won't
well,
believe, but these things
I think
actually
it's
happen.
Yeah,
Okay?
and I think that's quite crazy, because you also say that it's a heavy door and it does look heavy. So I mean, it's not like the wind will just blow it open or whatever. But
Yeah.
then I was wondering about the EMF from the female prisoner.
Yes.
And what did you say, or what did you say, EMF or EVP?
Yeah, that was the spirit box.
Right.
Skipping through the frequencies. Yes, that was a very interesting event. Because we usually, where this took place was in the radio room. So it's an events venue, kind of a museum. They raise funds to sort of take care of Moth members and stuff. So they have a little bit of catering going on there. So there's not much going on in that room except for the massive collection of radio equipment, and I'm talking stuff that was involved in the border war. So this basically, I think that there could be some residual energy that's clinging to that equipment. But this woman was quite interesting. We sort of got the notion that there was somebody there with a baby, because even the caretaker and some of our previous investigations, we have heard a baby crying. So we thought, it's pretty insane. So we thought, That's why history is so important, because it was a jail for men, and right at the back was the women's prison.
Ah.
And they actually they carved holes into the wall with their nails, and they climbed out to escape. So they were quite hectic criminals there. So apparently that some of the prisoners had children in the prison. So we just basically took it, knowing you got that information. So now you run with it. You go ask questions, and it was quite remarkable as she responded. And in Afrikaans as well.
Wat het sy gesê?
I think what did we ask her? I can't really actually remember, but we did ask her if there were many of them. She responded that she's alone. She did actually twice, and then the other occasion she said net een, because I was asking how many of you are here, and she replied.
Ja. Net een.
So yeah, and it's,
okay.
What in that situation though? Like, how do you feel when this is happening? Because I would be, the color of fear is brown in my opinion, because I would shit myself immediately. And that's the thing. Like, the stuff is amazing to me, is because if in that footage that you saw, now you know in your heart and soul that the footage that you have is real. That person that you saw standing in the thing, and people can be as skeptical as they want about it, but you know it's real. What happens to you as the person when you actually see that? Surely you must go ice cold.
No, it's quite the opposite. It's actually more of an excited. Fuck yes, we've got something, you know.
You can tell the difference that I'm not a paranormal investigator and you are, because I would be sitting there, no thanks.
Yeah, but look, Duncan, the other thing is that you can't allow anything like fear in this kind of environment, because they can mess up your life badly.
How so? I'd love to, because I would like to know how, because we'll obviously see your videos, things happen.
Yeah,
I think we should carry on, because I don't know which one it is where you actually speak about people, like some of the guys.
Okay, let's do that.
I'm gonna just go for. Oh wait, this one here is. Sorry, I'm just fast forwarding the video slightly. This one here is absolutely terrifying. That let me just push play and actually share the screen. And I don't know why I'm not doing that. So
Keeping it to yourself.
Yeah, why not?
Sprinkel, Modderfontein. Sprinkel opened its doors in 1911, serving both as a healthcare and mental facility. This is probably the closest that we've ever come to investigating an abandoned mental asylum. This location is a paranormal investigator's dream, and it features multiple buildings on the premises, isolated and haunting, mixed with the disturbing energy that only Sprinkel can provide. Unfortunately, these buildings have been reduced to dust for new development. The main building is all that remains, and it looks like something out of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre or the Waverly Hills Sanatorium. And on the inside, the notorious suicide room. We caught an amazing EVP consisting of a full sentence of a woman saying, "Help me, I can't see, it's dark in here." But the true gem on the property must have been the abandoned house not far from the main building. The energy was so dark and intense that it induced vomiting. Some of the investigators had to abandon the investigation because of becoming extremely emotionally affected by the unknown forces. Arno even saw an apparition of a little girl. Take it from us, this location is a hotbed of paranormal activity, and we recently confirmed that there was a definite suicide in one of the outbuildings. The sad part, apart from the countless lost souls wandering the property, is that Sprinkel no longer exists. But this 108-year-old building left us with memories that will haunt us till the end of our days. It is one of the most haunted locations we have ever been. Period. Before we get to number one,
I just want to say that your narration is also excellent, because you drive some words in there that are, they will haunt us till the end of our days.
Oh, it took me so long to record that. Yes. Good job. Oh, thanks, man.
So now that one, when I watched this video yesterday, I was like blown away, because that's one of those things, like you said, it's a hotbed. It's a mental asylum. It's got so much stuff. But just by the looks, I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. That's like take us through what happened on that investigation if you'd like to, if you want to. I mean, if you don't want to, I understand completely. But
No, that's all right. I've heard also. I did not get the chance to physically investigate the property. This was a few years ago, but I can take you guys through it. The story behind Sprinkle is it doubled as a hospital and as a mental asylum. And the thing is, there's that dynamite factory close by, and yeah, this was also a mining hospital. So you can just imagine what kind of trauma that piece of land has experienced. We actually did an investigation with another group, and unfortunately, one of the members passed away right after the investigation. The Monday, I think it was the Monday. I'm speaking under correction here, but yeah, he passed away. I think
if I may ask, of like, was it a accident?
I think it was heart related. But yeah, you can speculate as you want now. But that place had some serious side effects on a lot of people.
Yeah, the fact that you said that people started vomiting, I mean, that's quite a physical reaction, you know.
Yeah. Look, Yanni is our main sensitive in the group. Hunter, you mentioned the sensitive. It's just someone that can intensely sense and read the energy that's going on around them. And yeah, he just got completely. Yes. That's one of our shit magnets. We just send them in and film. It's like, do something. Yeah. Here's a hex bag. Do something with that. Yeah. So actually, you couldn't step foot in the place because the energy was just so hectic and just affected him in such a way that he just couldn't continue some of the investigators would go wait in the car for us, for the group to finish up. So it was quite palpable, if I can say that. That's probably the best way to describe it. And it's an old folks home now. They've reconstructed into an old folks home. So we're expecting calls any day now.
Yes, man. That just does not sound like a great idea. I mean, yeah.
Just piling on death in an area, really. You're just going, this area here it's like an old Native American burial ground now. It's just people
are going to die anyway.
There's people who, like, originally it was a mental asylum and a hospital where trauma patients were treated. Now we're putting more old people in there. So it's just going to be an absolute jolt out there for you guys.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But doesn't, in your opinion, doesn't that create a negative space?
Of course.
Built on top of a insane asylum.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah.
Yes. In fact,
definitely.
100%. Absolutely. But it is like a situation. Like, that's why one of the old school like stories are those Native American burial grounds. Like, I think it has, like you said earlier in the podcast, that if things do retain energies and stuff like that, that a place like that where you've had people that were mentally absolutely charged up and not in a good space, and the thing like that is that it sort of attracts. I think it would end up attracting more to it, because doesn't darkness sort of like attract darkness in a weird sense? In that, like you said, now that people go there to want to go and kill themselves, like a suicide room, for God's sakes. I mean, nothing gets the name of suicide room unless it's happened more than once. It's not it's not just, I think it would have to occur once or twice for it to get the nickname. And on that topic though, of like this darkish energy or whatever, that's why they always say, like, I know about the I don't know if you guys know that the Mount Fuji. The Mount Fuji forest below.
Forest, I'm aware of.
Yeah. That forest has been like a nickname, the suicide forest, because like all Japanese people that feel like they haven't made it go camping there, and they like feel like if they want to attempt to kill themselves, they go to like this place and they go and camp there. And then when the time feels right, they do it. And if it doesn't feel right, they leave. So like there has to be some sort of attracting, so to speak. of an area, like you said, like this, it's a negative area.
Sending out waves or something.
No, or like going, like like attracting you in to do something there, as whether it's the unknown pulling you in. I don't know, dude. Like I'm spitballing it with the boys. I'm just spitballing with the boys. Spitballing.
But, but that's essentially what it is. It's just spitballing. I think nobody knows for sure. Yeah. But I have a theory. I think it's bad spirits connect to weak people, and then they drag them down. That's the simplest way that I can put it.
Wow.
So that's why you can't allow the fear to take hold of you. A lot of the questions at radio stations and stuff they ask, aren't you afraid? It's like you can't allow it, because then you create an opportunity for an entity to latch onto your energy, and you bring that shit home with you.
But that was actually a question that I had: has anybody in your group ever, by mistake, taken an extra passenger home with them? Like that you went to a place that was haunted or whatever the case is, and then all of a sudden this person opened themselves up and they've been like attached to them, and now they've taken home a person or entity rather.
Yeah. The scary thing about that is you don't even need to be conscious about something like that for it to happen to you. It's like a venereal disease, if I can put it that way. As soon as you mix with that energy, you've got it, man. And it takes a while to get rid of it, if you're conscious about it. Otherwise, you can just see your life falls apart in the next 6 months, depending on how severe it is. Yeah, so you got to be very careful when dealing with these things, especially when we. Yeah, sorry, Hunter, go for it.
Yeah. Well, sorry for interrupting you, man, but I actually wanted to ask if to me, it kind of sounds easy to say, just don't be scared. I'm not sure how I would be able to do that. But I was also just wondering, how do you protect yourself? Do you have any other kind of measures? Balsam yourself and.
Sorry, that was me. I was actually putting on your next video, and I just shut in my pants. Thinking,
it sounds awesome, though.
Yeah, it does. It's rock and roll. I didn't know you guys could hear that. My absolute bad.
No, it's cool. It's cool.
You were saying?
All right. To answer your question, Hunter, there's not much really that you can do except your own resolve. I think you sort of develop a sense to push with your energy, if that makes any sense. Sure. To sort of keep yourself within yourself.
Yeah.
And not to drift off in your own thoughts, and then your own thoughts, become someone else's thoughts. We do a little ritual. We do pray before we go into the venue, just asking for protection, because we have kids, we have family, we don't want to involve them in these kinds of things. So it's literally just for that protection, and to make sure that we don't take anything home with us, that nothing latches on and comes home like a hitchhiker with a venereal disease. You don't want that.
I thought maybe at the end of it, like how when people are done at like doctors, they take off all their protective gear and stuff. You guys need to like burn some sage around you, drop the sage on your whole. I thought that would be a thing. So are you saying smoke worm? Is that just to get rid of it?
I think each of us have a little ritual when we finish with the investigation. There's different beliefs and certain methods. Take a bath with salt, or walk backwards into your house, or do the whole sage thing. But I think within our group we have a very safe space, and it's like a very well-oiled machine. We watch each other's back. So in that safe space, I think we'll be all right, because a bunch of strong individuals that can know what we're dealing with.
Great.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
But like it's you know what the thing is? This market is so niche, and it's so damn interesting, because this interests everyone, because everyone wants to know. Like everyone wants to, like I know for a fact, and I speak for Hunter here as well. Like I know that I want to be there and see it myself, but I also don't.
Yeah.
Like I would love to be sitting there with you and then have a fucking spook throw a book at me.
Yeah.
I want that, but at the same time, I don't.
Not
at
too
all.
much.
It's
So
it's a
I'm
weird
pretty
disconnect.
convinced that if I go with, then nothing will happen.
yeah, well, that's up for debate. You're gonna have to tag along one because we actually want to come down to Cape Town because there's so many historical places there and some really really crazy ghosts. So we'd really love to come and do that. So I'll invite you along once we're down there.
Yeah.
Bro,
Yeah,
I'm so keen for Hunter to go ghost hunting. Hunter the
come
the
with.
ghost hunter.
But that's why we started the YouTube channel, because people are living vicariously through us.
Yeah, 100%.
It's very interesting. Like in the first half of our YouTube channel getting started, it was a big demographic of females that were watching our videos, and that's completely swapped now. So the interest is definitely peaking. I think we're quite early, and there's a lot of condemnation around paranormal investigating and communicating with spirits. So it's still.
Sorry, on this topic, can you tell us, do you know about these two places, Simonstown and Clan Williams? Is there anything that you guys know about these places? Like Simonstown and Clan William?
Okay, moenie soon toe gaan nie. Clan William tel. I'm gonna have to lie if I tell you anything about it, but there is definitely some. Charmaine will probably know best. She's like a librarian when she comes to this stuff. But I do know that there are some stories. Do you guys know any stories?
No, I
got warning me not to go to Clan William. Specifically me, why not?
It's because there's a spook. It's gonna fuck you up. And obviously, I think the most famous town though, going to that side, is Uniondale. The ghost of Uniondale is obvious. I mean, that's like the viral hit of ghost. Vaden, why did you sound like that? What is wrong with the ghost of Uniondale?
It's been done to death there, and that's usually the only thing that and the Kempton Park Hospital. That's the only thing that people know about. That's why we try to go off the grid. We go find places that are haunted. You think those places we'll find you a place that is haunted. And that's like the lunatic asylum. That was just a fantastic encounter.
It's the lunatic asylum. Those goddamn loons. I love it.
5 stars on Yelp.
Just don't try the takeaway food. Don't get a takeaway. Takeaways are terrible. Just don't do that. So that's the biggest thing I wanted to say now is like I wanted to quickly show another video because this is the one that myself and Hunter yesterday were both like.
All right.
I got many questions. Hunter, you start. You're gonna start the question round after this. But it's off your 10 video evidence court video, which I find quite interesting. This number 10 one is the one that got me straight up in the face.
Number 10. Keep an eye on the top left corner. This light anomaly was caught only on our infrared DVR system. No one saw this at the time, and it was pitch black during our investigation. Note that one of the investigators claimed to see a face in the darkness right after the anomaly.
So that anomaly there, is it the flash of light that happens there, that like bright in and out of the light?
Yeah, it's so difficult to explain sometimes. It's basically a floating light going on top of the screen, going down like that. I did zoom in at some point to one of our videos, so you can see it. So it's. I don't think it's on this one. I think it will be probably on the old jail because I was in the old jail. It should be on that video.
Okay, I'll try and source that in a second. But now this is also some of the stuff. I just want to go through some of these.
Number 9.
Sure.
A Connect figure can be seen in this footage. No one was present at the time, and the footage was taken by a static Connect setup in the hallway. Number 8.
So now, what are those? What are those?
Yeah, dude. To me, that was crazy.
Okay, so basically what we did is Arnu is like our tech. He's like our tech guy. So what he did was he inverted the Xbox Connect so that the beams sort of picks up movement and starts building an anomaly. So you'll see like when a person is walking, you'll see the small screen, you'll see a person walking, you see the stick figure, that's fine. But when there's no person and there's a stick figure, that's when you know there's something odd there.
Yeah,
So it
dude.
actually picks up ghosts like that.
Duncan was a bit skeptical, obviously.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
of that
yeah.
one specifically. But this one here is different because this is
Next
like
one with the tall
yeah,
fuck.
with the, yeah, you see, and that's where then I was like, okay, maybe my suspicion is a little bit. I was a bit, premature.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say premature on this
Another
one.
instance of Connect footage captured a figure over 2 meters tall interacting with an investigator. The same angle was used, but the figure.
All right, you see, there's no body on top.
You see, that's exactly what I said with the first one. That's why I said I'm premature on that one because on that one over here, you can't really see much going down. But on this one here, I'm just saying like that is enormous to a person over there. Who I'm assuming she looks about just under 6 foot. I'd say like maybe like 5 foot, 5'8".
Yeah, she's quite small. Yeah.
Okay, well that's actually 5'8" is quite tall. So 5'4", and that's quite tall. I mean that is, and there's nothing there that's being picked up. I mean because it's showing obviously everything around here, which would be like a desk maybe or like a bar sort of vibe, a solid wall vibe, and then there's nothing here.
Yeah, that's basically a door there. But it's interesting if you watch his left hand, and he's actually watching this female and he's masturbating.
Whoa, shit.
Oh, you don't? Okay, wait, hang on. I never noticed
play
that.
it again. Just play it again. You'll see. And that was in the lunatic asylum. So obviously it's a little bit demented
Instance of Connect
soul.
figure over 2 meters tall.
Oh,
interacting with
my.
an investigator. The same angle was used, but the figure only showed up.
And we actually noticed
okay.
it.
That's just residue from Arno's things that he does at home with the Connect, maybe.
Okay, but on that topic,
Fucking I hope not.
Before we jump into the world of skummeling ghosts, because I don't think that's a road that we want to go into. And also, by the way, a very good album title for your next album, Hunter.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah.
Skummeling spooklikkies with Hunter. But Martin over here asked a interesting question. Are there positive ghosts that have your back from time to time, like a guardian demon? Instead of obviously guardian angel.
Or guardian angel, yeah.
That's a tough one to answer. I wouldn't call it a guardian demon. A demon is bad. You want anything to do with a demon. But I would say that, in my personal opinion, I reckon it's like maybe family members that sort of it gets appointed, and then they watch over you through your life. And I this is just my personal view on it. And then the day that you pass, they are there to take you to the next step. That's basically.
I just want to keep going back to these things because this one here is the one that also blew me away. Like this one is.
The following footage is quite a mystery, as it only was discovered after watching endless hours of recording. It shows a possible manifestation at the end of the hall. No one was present at the time, and everyone was accounted for when this was taken. There also seems to be a light in the room, leaving us with a greater sense of the unknown.
Now, like
Number 6.
Now that one gives me some cheeky Hunofleisch because that one you can look. I know about trick footage and trick photography and green screens and all of that kind of stuff like that. And I understand that, but I mean, for the most part, your videos aren't shot in a sense that makes it look as though, you know what I'm getting at. Like the videos aren't, they're so raw to that extent. And that thing there, like when I watched that one, I was like, y'all motherfuckers caught a ghost on cam. Like this guy there was just, what was that? A male, a female, a thing, a what? What the hell was going on there?
Okay, so. What we think it is, because we've been to the venue a couple of times now for investigation, just to do like follow-ups and see if we can help unravel the mystery. Like you said, the footage wasn't great. That was like in the early days when we still used those really crappy. We had like 400 meters worth of wire, that you run all over the place. So that's but you can clearly see something manifesting there. And then later on, I think it was last year. Rihanna van Heerden does a show with Gerald. Do you see that?
Gerald. I know old Gerald. I know Gerald well. Myself and Martin, who made a comment earlier, used to interview him on our show, and people used to phone in and say, like, sê vir my iets, Gerald. And he'd be like, jy het 'n seer linkerbeen. And she'd be like, ja, dit is seer. Waar is my regterbeen? Ek het geweet. And it was weird. Like, Gerald he's the one, look, lovely to chat to on the phone. And but
yeah, very, very, very sweet man. But he actually helped us clear up that there's some army sergeant or the warden of the prison. Basically, that's his manifestation that we saw there. We never caught it again. That was the only incident that ever happened. So
bloody governmental workers, they never at their post when they're supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Bloody governmental workers.
And his office used to be where the ladies' bathroom is now. So he sort of torments the ladies going into the bathroom because it's his office, you know.
Why? Like, I feel like you guys find the most perverted ghosts. Is there you have the Skormeling ghost of that place, you have the perverted warden of the women's bathroom.
Yeah, the sleeping Tom.
And just before we carry on with stuff, I have a question, and Hunter, I know you've got one as well that I would love you to ask of your 1,000. But is South Africa particularly a haunted place? Because of our history, and we have a pretty violent history of things. I mean, from the difference of when people arrived and all the tribal stuff that's happened here and murdering of tribes and the Boer War. I mean, those camps must be absolutely terrifying to go to in anything, because you have concentration camps, war camps. You have a lot of history. Is South Africa particularly a place where people just haven't sort of passed over, so to speak?
I think, as you mentioned, taking a look at the history, it's blood-soaked. And I think it resonates. The history resonates in our everyday lives. All the things that were done in the past still haunts us till today. So it's very prominent in our history. You'll find mining towns. You'll find the concentration camps. I'm speaking under correction how many there are, but it's you mentioned it. It's a very sad sensation being in those camps. Just a devastating loss of life and the circumstances. So it definitely depends on where you go in the country. I mean, the Cape will obviously be more historical ghosts, coming from when the castle was the only building in Southern Africa. Basically to fend off the wildlife. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. And all the tribal wars that went on. You talked about Klangwinium Town. Going to the eastern, I think it's eastern coast, the whole eastern province. It's basically all the Zulu wars that took place there between the English and the Xhosas, and the Zulus basically. They had massacres like we have rugby matches. This is just all over the show.
Get the boys together and having another murdering.
Yeah. Everybody come around, grab a rock. So it's definitely very prominent. That's why we dig into the history as much as we can, because you always find a clue there. And also the fact that it's very, we have, like mentioned before, it's a lot of tribes and a lot of African history as well, and their beliefs and their supernatural beliefs I think also plays a role in some of what's going on.
It kind of fits in, like you were talking about the guardian angels being like a family member or something. And as far as I understand, the tribal sort of belief system also works on that kind of ancestral spirit. As a guide, I think let's take Christianity for instance. You're not allowed to believe that, because it's just well, that is actually interesting that you're mentioning it, because I watched your 1,000 subs video, and you guys mentioned that you are Christians, and I was actually wondering how this how this fits into that idea or paradigm. Sorry, I'm not sure how to say that. You know what I'm saying?
No, I absolutely understand. Hunter, I don't really know what to say about that, because your belief is your belief, right? And I think in anybody's frame of work, you sort of adjust it to your own need, I guess. The thing is, the perspective we are coming from, it's not necessary to conjure something or make the hauntings worse. It's just kind of to help identify what's going on and how to appropriately deal with it. I don't know. I think it says somewhere in the Bible that you shouldn't speak to the dead. But I think, I think just putting it into context, not asking them for help, stuff like that, sort of. And that's where the Moody stuff comes in. You're sort of asking the ancestor to help you to get this job, but you kind of need to do this first. And then you need the genitals of a goat and eyes of a snake and all kinds of shit like that. So it basically, I think, if you put it into perspective, it probably doesn't agree with most Christians and their beliefs. But, we're not doing any harm to anybody. So
no, sure, no, but I mean, there's those Christians that have such varying belief systems. You know what I mean? I'm sure there are Christians that don't even necessarily believe in demons. But if you believe in demons, then I guess you might as well believe in ghosts. You know.
Yeah, that's actually, on a personal level, that's what I went through from growing up in a very conservative Afrikaans family with your religious beliefs, and you go to church every Sunday. So, after I left that whole framework, sort of moved away from it, just to sort of get perspective on it all. And that's one of the reasons moving into the paranormal. You want to see if there is something evil in the dark. What's the flip side of that?
Yeah.
And it's sort of all these questions, with time and my experience in this field has sort of cleared up. And you start wondering about other things, like, aren't we just, once we die, aren't we just recycled? And I know it's kind of a reincarnation kind of concept, but, maybe you have a choice. Like, maybe do you want to have another go, or you want to go chill out for the rest of eternity?
It's being trapped between the two worlds seems terrifying to me. You know what I mean? I like that thought is, but I guess you don't really know what those spirits are thinking. But I mean, just being trapped kind of seems great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a form of hell in itself, I think. I think I always try and remove my own consciousness from that situation, out of your own physical body, and try and make sense of the fact that you can't touch anything, you can't speak to anybody. You just floating.
If you guys rock up, then at least someone's listening, I guess.
Yeah. I think that's a general consensus, and I think that's where mediums really do a great job. They sort of identify it and cross them over, whereas we're not always sure what we're dealing with, so we don't want to tug at that thread. But when you do start pushing them, you start being more aggressive. Shit does happen.
Yeah. I actually. Sorry, Dan.
Take it away. Sorry, no, carry on. Sorry.
Because initially in my question list, I wrote in, do you ever fear for your life? You know what I mean? If you go to these kind of places. But I think I know the answer now after our discussions up until now, but I would still like you to answer that.
On a spiritual level and a physical level, we do often wander into abandoned hospitals, which, there's this unchecked medical waste, and there's buildings, kind of falling apart and kind of stuff like that. That's the definite physical aspect. On a spiritual level, like I mentioned before, if you do encounter one of these nasties, and I think probably the old Raadsal in Pretoria CBD is probably the best example of just total darkness, man. That place really affected.
Should we watch that video and you can talk us through it? Because I've still got it up here in front of us. The Raadsal, right?
Let's go for it.
But Carrie, just finish what you're saying. Sorry, then I'll bang in the video and you can take us through it.
Yeah, it basically comes down to bloody hell. What was I saying now?
It's darkness.
Darkness. There we go. All right. So every one of our investigators experienced something really terrifying in that place. And not the kind of thing that's there's something behind me. It just sort of, the whole building just is dark, and you feel like every corner the static sort of makes your hair stand on end, and it's just, when you think about those experiences in the hindsight, you still get that same sensations. We actually had a medium on that one of those investigations, the old Rod Soul, and it got pretty bad at some stage, and she dispensed like a whole bottle of holy water in the front door, and it just dissipated.
Wow.
So there's a lot of bad energy there.
What do you mean, like went up in steam?
Yeah, it dissipated, like literally right in front of it.
Madness.
This is their take on the Orad Soul in
Pretoria
brief.
CBD.
Yeah, sorry for the photographs.
Of all the countless locations
That's all we had.
this place frightens even our most seasoned investigators, and is probably the main reason why we want to go back. Yeah, we want to go back.
Yeah.
Ask anyone in our team and they will tell you that the old council hall still haunts them to this day. Commissioned by President Paul Kruger himself, the construction began in 1889. This Renaissance revival style wonder has witnessed and absorbed some, if not all, of the energy of what occurred in Church Square at the time. One must keep in mind that back then, the square was the pulse of the early Pretoria and resembled a town straight out of the Wild West. With public hangings in the square, it is no wonder that all the hostile energy has found a home in the surrounding buildings, including the Ou Raadsal. The building is a maze of secret passages and full of dark nooks and crannies, giving the feeling that every step you take, you walk deeper and deeper into the grip of looming fear. The entire place is a hotspot, including the basement consisting of jail cells. Dave was paralyzed by an unknown force where he could not speak or even move. You see, dark entities usually target the ones with weak resolve. But at the old council hall, it is very much the opposite, where they went after our strongest members first. A medium once joined us on an expedition and said there was a dark, non-human entity roaming the council hall. She even dispatched a flask of holy water at the front door, which dissipated upon impact. Our investigators have been scratched through their jeans, their hair pulled, and I've even seen dark shadow figures watching them from the gallery. Mimics are also a common occurrence inside the hall. Like I said before, it's hard to put into words the feeling inside the Raadsal. It's ominous, petrifying, haunting, and dark. So very dark in every sense of the word, and not the kind of place you ever want to be alone in, because the shadows might just swallow you whole, never to be heard from again. The Ou Raadsal ticks all the boxes. Creepy, chilling, scary, and it's in a really dodgy area in Pretoria CBD. This place is haunted.
Not only will a spirit hurt you, but you'll also get your wallet stolen as you come out. That's the problem. But the one thing when I watched that yesterday and now again is like, so you said this place is dark, like it's got these entities and stuff, so there's a lot of darkness in there, and it's a Raadsal. So a lot of decision making happens there. People make decisions in a Raadsal. So I wonder if a lot of like bad decisions get made because these entities and stuff are actually in these places. And it just struck me that going, like, this is a place of importance. Now, if you have like a dark, ominous being that's sitting there and you're there every day, that you slowly but surely might lose your sanity to this thing and start signing off things. I'm not saying the apartheid government or something like that before anyone jumps on some knowledge train. But you make weird... Well, no, but not all of the stuff. But what I'm saying is that, the idea was the idea, and then it starts cranking more incarnates of evil things like torture, hurt, do this, make it worse. You know what I mean? Because it's in a place.
Is mad to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, it was a central place of punishment. I mean, if I think of that time in Pretoria, it's just after the gold rush started. Pretoria sort of branched off just to sort of be like a depot, where people could just camp off with their ox wagons and stuff for the night. That's how empty and open South Africa was at that stage. So, if you had somebody in a jail cell at the Ou Raadsal and, this guy continually beats his wife, you can just get rid of him. It's just as easy as that. And there's so many hidden passages in the Raadsal. So they reckon the tunnels go across the street underneath the road.
Oh, wow.
There's so many passages and stuff, and especially the staff quarters is very active as well. So it's maybe like, let's say, mistreated slaves at that stage, and maybe they just sort of put a curse on the place, or some voodoo magic. You'll just feel it when you walk in there. It's just something's wrong.
Dude, you said that the one medium said there's a non-human entity. Does she mean it never was human, like that kind of jinn demon kind of thing, or what does that mean?
I think that what she meant is probably something that's not of this earth, coming from, probably, let's say, a demon of some kind.
Great. Whatever that might be, other dimension or whatever.
Yeah, look, it's it's interesting if you look into it. If you shy away from the actual bad stuff, these portals are opened for these things to come through. So for years now, we've speculated that, let's say, like we said, that negative space, that hospital with all the death, and the old folks home, let's say all that negativity and all that death can open a doorway, for something to climb out and start feeding on all the negative energy.
Yeah,
it's a theory.
Sure.
I like it. Well, I mean, I don't like it. But I like it.
Yeah, look, demon possession and stuff like that. It's not something that often occurs. I think people convince themselves that they have demons in their house, and that's most of our private cases. People are really, they're feeding their own paranoia and in turn feeding this paranormal activity, negativity. So it sort of manifests in their homes. I don't know. It's going to take a lot to convince me that someone has been possessed by a demon. Maybe all the people locked up in the lunatic asylums, or have some sort of affliction. Because it can happen. In the past, paranormal investigators from the US have committed suicide and killed their entire families, and so I don't know. It's I have to say that these evil entities are very patient, so they can take you down in a matter of decades. So yeah, that's pretty much my take on that.
I have one last question before Hunter's gonna have his. I don't know how many he's got.
I'm almost done, bro. No.
I've got one left. The one that I have is I'm asking the weird, stupid stuff because that's just life.
I like it, dude. Yeah.
But the question I have is, now through the ages, my problem with the whole idea of spirits and manifestations and stuff, and the way that spirits are and contact you, it always seems like, I'm using movies now, not that you've actually experienced, because you've actually experienced it, but it always feels like it's the same thing. Like all ghosts, for some other goddamn reason, like a Victorian era ghost. I understand that's the thing, but have you experienced a different set of ghosts due to an age? Like some person that died in the 1500s has a different attitude towards being a spirit or whatever than someone that maybe died in 1930. Like I'm not talking like a hipster ghost or something. I just it's one of those things that just struck me now, where it's always an old timely guy wearing a fucking monocle. But do ghosts from different periods have different ways of expressing themselves? Because, are the 1500s, is a 1500s white dude that died more narcissistic than a 1950s guy?
Where are the cavemen ghosts or whatever kind of thing?
Yeah, why are there no ghost cavemen? That's a very interesting question. I haven't given that much thought at all, but I would say that the thing is that we can't always see them. To get a full body apparition like the one you saw, that's the only one that we've caught ever. It's not something that usually happens. So from there, you have a difficulty telling what time period this person is from, because you can't see any garments or anything like that.
Yeah.
And the voices that we capture, they're not always sentences or in an accent. So it's a very interesting question. It's very hard to tell, actually.
I can imagine. I just thought there'd be a behavioral pattern difference, because somebody that died, for an example, the lunatic asylum thing makes absolute sense. That the feeling and the way the things appear there are always going to be quite dark and twisted, because the things that are there are obviously of a dark and twisted nature. Whereas if it was an old funny worm, that passed away in like a house that is haunted, but he was a bit of a trickster. Like that's where you have the idea of like, oh, he's chucking a book around, you know, or like he's knocking on the door because he's actually messing with you. And that's why I was trying to get this like this difference, because like must be different ways in which the ghosts are, because of the time period they lived in. Because I think if you in 1,000 or 500 years from now, people can be like, oh, those first techno noob ghosts are here again, and he's, you know, trying to type out something for you. I just think there has to be a difference between like ages, and perhaps maybe that is why they are different. And not every ghost is a Victorian era ghost. I mean, you might be experiencing something from somebody that was actually alive in the 80s, and you're there 20 years after they passed, and that's why their way that they experience the world is each equal to how they're going to treat you now, because of their understanding of the world. Because I don't think a Victorian era ghost would type on your laptop like that. They wouldn't understand what the hell that is.
She would have no idea what.
Correct, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I just wondered if, like if you've ever experienced maybe that ghosts changed, or they do change to their things.
I think they're pretty much stuck in their time frame. We have encountered some that are very confused, and that's probably why. Because you know, the last thing you remember, you were riding your horse in 1930.
Yeah.
And something happened, and now you're in the middle of Main Street, and there's all these cars around you. You know?
What era? It's a good question from Martin. Is what era is the Scommel ghost from? Would you estimate that? Is he? You know?
I reckon anywhere between 1930 and 1960.
I love how this is like we've been so flipping serious, but then you had to bring up the Scommel ghost again. I love it. That was the only question I had. Sorry, why did I put it back up? Sorry, that's Huntz. Sorry, I just wanted to know that was my thing. Carry on.
That's a simple one, bro. I think it is interesting. I wasn't gonna mention this again, but also in that 1,000 subs video, Arnu kind of asked you guys if you think it's all psychological. And I thought that was a nice and skeptical kind of thought coming from a investigator. But I also sometimes wonder whether you have to be a type of person that kind of brings these things out. You know what I'm saying? So, but I mean, this is a bit weird because none of these ghosts actually have anything to do with you. So I guess it's not really like that. Anyway, that's not really a question.
Okay, that was a good attempt at a question. I like that one. We'll put that one back in the drawing board.
Do you want to elaborate on that so that we can kind of explore it?
I mean, what should I ask you a question, or do you have something to say? Maybe that would help me out.
It's your podcast, Hunter.
Like for instance, poltergeist activity happens a lot when there's a teenage girl going through puberty, you know, and that kind of energy. I don't know how that works, but somehow creates poltergeist activity or something. So, don't know. Could it be some kind of a protection from our side? I don't know.
Protection.
No, some kind of projection from the experience.
Oh, projection. Okay, yes. All right. Okay, let's go with that. I think, it's something that I've wondered a lot about myself, and what it comes down to for me, I think once the spirit passes on, there's sort of I don't know what happens after that. I mean, obviously nobody does, but if you get stuck, left behind, or you know, you're not moving on to the next, you sort of have to, and it's weird because someone tried to explain this to me that actually sees ghosts, and you know that they actually in commune with ghosts. They see them all the time, and they try to explain it to you in this way: is that they need to build up energy to start manifesting so that they can get a message across. So this you'll see a lot of orbs on paranormal videos. You know, it's I've sort of come across that's how they travel. They roll themselves up in a little energy ball and they go.
Attention, is that energy attention, or like how do they build up energy? I don't know.
where would you find energy? Living things, living human beings. They feed off that energy. You know, obviously, energy is emanated
Fear.
from our bodies. Like,
Yeah.
you know, they call it a, you know, aura or whatever. But yeah, they definitely rub off that, drain your energy, get more powerful, but not in a sense to hurt anyone. It's more just to kind of, okay, I've been floating around for 10 years and I've gathered all this energy. I'm going to knock this candlestick over and I'm hoping that guy sees me.
Yeah, exactly.
So just to take note, I think that's they want to grab our attention so that we can maybe help them onto the next realm.
Yeah,
So
interesting.
yeah, I think that's, you know, it's all just speculation really, but I think
Of course, but I like that kind of. It kind of makes sense to me, at least.
yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Dude, I wanted to ask you: is it only buildings that are haunted?
Doesn't this
No.
lend to something you said earlier though? Because it's sort of like because there's actual physical matter like walls and things for the energy to attach to. Doesn't that sort of link to it why it's more often buildings? Because there's actual physical stuff to
Yes.
Attached to or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Oh, you guys were sorry, Bernard. You guys were saying something about running water, actually.
Oh yes. Yeah, it conducts energy, right? So they feed off that to increase their ability to communicate. In theory.
What's your favorite?
How? No, but how? No, but like, so what? If I'm running water, all of a sudden I'm summoning the fucking
more like
seven
rivers.
circles of hell.
Rivers.
Oh, I was like, because
Yeah.
now, like, I already don't drink water because I'm an unhealthy piece of shit. But I'm not gonna run myself a bath now anymore because like I'm not while I'm
Something's
having a
gonna happen
bath.
here. Just gonna sit here and just
The old skummel goes to be sitting there on the side of the bath while I'm running the bath and going.
I was like,
Hi, friend.
ooh,
It's me
Duncan.
again. It's me, the coast of Scormore past. But I just find it interesting. So sorry, Hunter was saying though, like you said, no. Your answer was no to his question. So they're not just buildings.
Yeah, no, it's hard to conduct an investigation in that way to see a plot of flat land. Let's say, for instance, there was a skirmish between the Boers and the English, or the Xhosas and the English.
That's exactly what I was wondering about that.
And some other paranormal groups have caught evidence, distance. You can hear like a cannon shot, or one of the voorleiers being shot, or somebody screaming. But I think that to that extent, that's probably what you can record in open air. So it becomes a logistical problem to capture evidence in that way, because you've got the wind on your speaker and on your mic, sorry, and it just really distorts. It's not easy to capture evidence out there. That's why it's mostly confined to buildings.
Gotcha.
It's quite interesting. Sorry, I'm just going back to that thing you're talking about, the energy thing, and this might be a weird sensation for me to quickly just say is it quite often that museums are haunted? I'm not going to Night at the Museum before anyone says I'm trying to fucking franchise the Disney movie or whatever. But is there a weird thing that museums have a bit of an energy thing to them like that? Because I'm just thinking now about like when you spoke about the Boers and all that and the fighting, and I remember quite clearly, like I've been to a few museums in South Africa in smaller towns. And every time I go in them, I get the same weird feeling. And it's just like weird, dusty smell, obviously because stuff is old. But there's this weird feeling in there because it's obviously stuff that was real at the time. But is there a case for there, like, or does it happen often that museums actually have some sort of
look, museums are filled with valuable belongings that belong to someone who had sentimental connection to it. So now you bring all those artifacts into one space. It's definitely we found this with the Linfield House in here in Auckland Park. There's a very sweet lady, Catherine, who lives alone in this huge house with this insane collection of antiques, and we're convinced. We're convinced that the artifacts are primarily responsible for all the activity in the house.
Right. And when you say that one, I think it's this one here, right? That's the Linfield house. We can just watch this one as well quickly. This Linfield house is, I mean, but the problem with this is this thing, like this house has those dolls that have like the porcelain faces that are already creepy before there's even anything that needs to be said. So this is the Linfield house that Vanna's talking about.
This beautiful Victorian house is straight out of the mid-1800s, and walking into the home feels like stepping 150 years back in time.
I mean, just look at that house. I mean, every stick of furniture is from the 19th century, you know.
Yeah.
And this is the museum area where all the artifacts and stuff is just.
Every object brought here from across the globe contributes to the overall energy.
I mean, that thing is terrifying.
Amplified.
Terrifying.
Oh, and they're all over the house, you know.
The Tibetan skull drum in the museum and objects being thrown in the doll room. The countless EVP responses we have captured and rash outbreaks. The scariest spots in the Linfield house will be the children's rooms and the attic. The attic is said to be occupied by a mean spirit of Umkali, and he does not take kindly to strangers in the house. He has made his disdain known to our investigators, growling at them, and some have even walked away with scratches. Just a reminder that what you cannot see can still hurt you. The Linfield house is a scary place, and the energy inside is very unsettling. If you still doubt that the house is haunted, go check it out for yourself. Where tours are available by appointment, and the host and owner will give you a fantastic experience of what living was like in the 19th century.
I mean, that thing there just by itself is absolutely creepy. Like the stuff in that house. And it does feel like, I mean, even watching that, like, I don't know if it's because like old stuff looks creepy, but I mean, I get this weird sense when I look at that stuff. Like I feel a little bit like, this doesn't feel lekker. This doesn't give me the good vibrations, even watching the video.
Yes. Absolutely. And I mean, she lives there all alone. What? I wouldn't fucking do that.
No.
No way.
Is Tani, is she 100% though, like, or is she a little bit cooked in the head? Is there a little bit of like, is she a little bit, you know, when?
Yeah, you know, as much as a lot of loneliness and being stuck in a huge house alone would do to you, I guess.
Okay.
She's not aware of any activity. I think she just blocks it all out and just. Yeah, she just doesn't pay any attention, and that's the way to go. You know, if you have stuff like this in your house, just ignore it. Don't give it any strength.
Except Wamkali. Wamkali seems like an absolute asshole.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. He's not there anymore though. After Gerald, because we did this investigation after Gerald visited the house, he took a lot of the entities out. So now it's just a fucking boring museum. No ghosts.
They took away the most fun thing about the place. Now all you get to look at is creepy ass porcelain dolls.
Yeah.
Like I was going to go for old Gully, but now I'm just gonna be scared by weird 18th century porcelain dolls.
Yeah, but it's you know, if you love the history and stuff, it's a great place to go check it out and just get a sense of what a boy 16-year-old what his room looked like in 1908. You know, it's it's very depressing.
No Ben 10 posters, I can assume.
Nothing. There's no nothing. There's like stuffed animals, you know, like taxidermy animals.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he probably shot them with his slingshot, and it's like little trophy.
Hunter, do you have any last questions?
Dude, I basically have two, and just because I'm also interested in this kind of stuff, I saw that you posted something on mermaids recently on your Facebook page.
Yes.
And I was wondering if you're going to go cryptid hunting.
You know, Hunter, I would actually love to do like a spin-off of our Phoenix Paranormal team and just go after stuff like that, because how interesting is that? I mean,
I love it.
Where does the thing is, these stories come from somewhere, and it's not necessarily based in at the coast. I mean, you could expect mermaid sightings to be at the coast, but it's not in the Karoo Desert. What do you make of that?
Yeah, that's crazy. No, I actually just really liked your post. I was hoping you can maybe. Do you remember what you said in that thing? I was hoping you could elaborate a little.
In all fairness, Charmaine is the architect behind these wonderful posts of ours.
Okay, no worries.
And I do read them. I just can't remember all of them.
Yeah, well, we're in the same boat.
But
it is,
what part specifically caught your
I
interest?
mean, it is just that. It is just the fact that it's almost like we were talking about in the UFO episode, Duncan. Like, can everyone that has these stories be crazy? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and I mean the silicant, right? That's kind of a classic example of something that we thought was extinct, and then it rocked up on just
No pun intended.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, not that I'm saying mermaids were ever alive, but I don't think that we have discovered everything that is to be discovered. And maybe at some point there were these weird animals. You know, so I guess it depends on how you think about cryptids.
Yeah. The thing is, what always baffles me about these stories and stuff, why, with all the tech that we have available now, why doesn't somebody go look for it?
It's because I think I have an answer for you. No, I have an answer for you. I think the problem that we have in this world is just vastness. We were discussing this actually yesterday, not even in this topic of like ghosts and weird things and anomalies. The Earth is too vast for anyone to know about. I mean, I've been lucky enough to fly. But that's we say that's the deepest part of the ocean. But like, it's not. Nothing has been. We haven't documented way too much. Like, I sometimes drive on the N1, and it's like, if I'm driving out to the coast, and there's a weird thing that happens in my little stupid brain, is I'll be in the middle of the Karoo and driving and just look out, and your eye can only see as far as your eye can see. And I think to myself, when last has a single person been anywhere near that thing? Because I mean, and I'm not saying like, if you're a murderer and you're listening, don't listen to me now. But it is very easy for you to be a murderer, for an example. And I mean, murderers dispose of bodies like in a river. You're like, oh, it's done. Whereas like, our country is so fucking vast that if you took an hour and a half trip out of the south of Colesberg, and then you drove 30 kilometers inland that way off the N1, no one's going to find anything. If you bury something there, no one's going to find it. And I think that's the thing about, there's just so much vastness.
It's a good tip.
Listen, don't go murdering people now, please. But has that thought never occurred to you, though? But has it never occurred to you, though? I mean, like I was saying, I was lucky enough to fly from Joburg down to the Cape in a small aircraft. So you're not very high. You sort of like 8,000 foot above the ground. And there is just absolutely
space.
Fuck all. Between Bloemfontein and Port Elizabeth, there is, I mean, you just see even if you see like Aliwal Noord from 8,000 foot, it's legitimately the size of a fucking Mari biscuit. And then there's fuck all again for another half an hour. So that's the problem, is I think that there's just so much vastness that to discover all the stuff is impossible.
But that's very interesting, though. So in hindsight, you're actually suggesting that these things might be hiding amongst us, and we're just not aware of it because we can't.
Yeah, but and that's the thing. We build infrastructure to be as easy as it is for humans. If you don't want to be found, you just go with humans. It's not easy for humans to find shit. The N1 is built as like a straight arrow line, obviously taking into account mountains between Joburg and Cape Town. It just goes straight down like this. There's a lot of vastness between there, and like the next main road is like 300 Ks as the crow flies. What the fuck's in that 300 Ks? Obviously, it's deserted land, but who knows that there's actual people that actually live there, living off the land. We don't know. There's islands that people haven't discovered.
I've got a. Sorry, Don, can I interrupt you?
But go on. It's an interruption. I'm done.
I've got the same fascination with the Eastern Cape, and especially with the mountain ranges, Drakensberg. Because my girlfriend used to own a farm there, but there was no power or anything on the farm, so it's very, very rural. So I'd fuck into the mountains and go into those forests, and you see yellowwood trees still growing wild. And I would think exactly the same thing to myself. When was the last time that a human being put a foot here? And if it's been 100 years, then like you say, there's so much vastness. We might just be missing all of it.
We're missing, and now we're talking about South Africa, which is this big on the globe. Yeah. Now you have the ocean. Which I mean, like they say we've probably mapped like 2% of that fucker, because I mean it's just too vast. Yeah. We have all the technology, but I mean we don't have the implementation tools yet. We can't. But anyway, Hunter, Last question.
Last one, bro. Wynand, this Halloween falls on a blue moon.
Interesting.
Do you have any plans?
Yes, we actually found a gigantic mansion in Brakpan that belonged to a doctor, and it also doubled as like a little hospital. So there's a lot of rumors, lots of stories. So we're going to go check it out on Halloween.
Amazing.
What is Halloween? Is that Saturday or is that Friday? Is it the 31st?
I think it's
Saturday.
Yeah.
Damn, that is the Brak. That's not the only thing that's haunted there.
Yeah, that sounds like an American Horror Story.
But Hunter, I think you probably have a lot of stories. You probably played in a lot of dodgy little towns in this country. Eh?
I think we're just too wasted to pick up the spirits.
Yeah, I remember those days. Eh?
Apparition. Yeah, I don't know.
The spirits are actually scared of you. Oh God, it's this band again.
They're like, this guy's not going to help me. I'm not going to start with that time. Yeah, I don't know. Not on tour, I think. More like the abandoned farmhouse, that kind of thing for me. En stilte, jy weet. Dus daai voel vir my baie meer real as soos. And it's obvious, maar een of ander nuwe hotel iewers of whatever. But yeah, is it Cullinan? Caledon.
Yes.
Cullinan, you were talking about Cullinan.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
What about the towns that you guys are from? Were there any stories when you were growing up as kids?
Not as so much, yeah, but I know the one about there's like this weird story. I'm from Benoni, and in Boksburg, there's the story of like this case and like this haunted like dam flay area. I must actually find it for you. I don't know if you know it. Where like guys were fishing there in like the 1930s or 40s, and a case like washed up to the shore, and they opened it up, and there was literally like an absolute severed human being up in there in this bag. And like they said, like ever since that discovery of that body, that area is just like a hive of activities weird. And obviously everyone goes to the Kempton Park Hospital and like goes and tries to smoke meth or something. I don't know what it's like, a meth den now. Like people do it, just go to the Kempton Park Hospital to do drugs. Like it used to be like the place to go to like get the experience, but I think it's just over the top now.
That place is fucked now.
But it's from people. It's from people. Like and like I know that a lot of people have said like I met guys that used to do this like 10, 15 years ago, like back when it was really authentic, like when it was super abandoned. And like if you went there, you had to like jump over fences and cut yourself to try and get in. And they said like the problem was then the way that it was abandoned in such a clean, like in a clean manner was what made it so scary. And like everything was deserted, but everything was like left as is. But now with more and more, which is more creepy in my opinion. But what they've done now, as I said, more people have gone in there to try and add value of creepiness, to like write things like "Never forget 1937," and they've like in a fucking Sharpie marker pen, which wasn't invented till like the 60s. And you know, it's like so people have gone in there themselves and they've just wrecked the place. Because I mean, the Kempton Park Hospital was the place to be, and now it's just like it's shit.
Yeah, no, the thing is, we've never investigated there before because it's just a logistical nightmare to get proper permission. But we have been keeping tabs on the place, and there's some really bad shit happening in that hospital. But I think mainly for the reason that it's abandoned and it's huge. Like, we had one correspondent just send us photos of a scene that he sort of came upon. It's just like blood spattered against the walls and on the floor, but like seriously, like something was killed there, you know. So usually what people used to do is,
was it like fresh or was it old?
No, it was pretty fresh. Yeah, so
oh my God.
And the thing is, there's a theater area where there's a pentagram on the floor and stuff. So they definitely, opens up something there. But if you want to investigate there now, or if you want to go there, you have to bribe the security guards, buy them KFC, and they wait until you're inside and they phone the cops. So it's
Are you talking out of experience?
No, that's a real story. I've heard people saying the same thing. It's like it's just become a joke though. Like it used to be a place where people went and like broke. And look, I know it's obviously trespassing, which is illegal, but they used to go there. And like the thing is, it was creepy because the story about Hunter is like this hospital existed day to day, you know, everyone, and then one day they got a call saying, "Shop's closed, boys. Get the fuck out."
Yeah,
And
Christmas
like
Day, 1997.
Yeah. And it was literally like tools down. Like that's why like they just like get out the hospital and it just got like it's the real sense of abandonment. Like like that's why they said there was still literally like stuff that people were working on there. Like there's the actual tools and stuff like that. You know, it's all working.
They ended up leaving about 15 million rands worth of equipment there, where the Arweidt hospital had to put babies into shoe boxes because they didn't have capacity. And they had at Kempton Hospital, they had wards of incubators. So, you know, it's just, I think that came down to a complete malpractice, and I think government definitely had an influence on that. The malpractice, that's I wouldn't say speculation, there's actually proof of it. And lots of people respond on those posts that doctors weren't. One specific doctor was not an actual doctor, and he.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it's. I think that might have been the main reason. But it's still speculation at this point. I don't think anyone will ever know until someone of the government tells us what actually happened.
Better chance of pigs flying than that happening. But listen, we've been hitting it for an hour and 50 minutes. I think it's time to say it's to call it one. If you're watching now, I just want to say a massive thanks to you, Vanna, for coming on. I put up the banner. If you want to follow the guys from Phoenix Paranormal South Africa, go and do it. They've got a YouTube channel as well. I'll share a couple of the videos that we played tonight on our page as well. Go and give them a follow. I mean, these guys are doing stuff locally. I mean, who knows? They could be in your town soon.
I'm looking forward to that. Where's that? Benoni. Where's your house?
The Brakpan Mansion. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to say like a massive thanks for coming on our Halloween special of talking about these things. I think it's amazing what you guys are doing, and it's a lot of fun.
It's my pleasure. Thanks a lot for having me on, guys.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
Hunter, high five. That was good. You're amazing.
Nice. You're amazing.
Bainant, down at 5, up top there. Boom, boom. But thank you. Thanks a lot, guys. But yeah, we'll catch you again in another couple of weeks. I don't know what we're going to do then, Hunter. We'll discuss that again as a tradition.
This is the end of our season.
Oh, it is. It's the last one of the season. No, season 1 is finished. Season finale. Vaynant, you're the last person that was on season 1. How damn proud of you.
I feel so honored.
Damn awesome.
That's fantastic. Anyway. Thanks a lot, guys.
Really thanks for joining us. Go and follow them. Go and check it out. And if you're watching this, or listening to it, whatever, thanks very much. It's awesome having you guys chime in all the time. And we'll catch you again in a couple of weeks. Bye.